Welcome back to On Right Podcast. You have Elijah here alongside Grant. Second episode of the week. Consistency is the key around here.
Mhm.
So we're trying to keep that up. We're going to recap the NBA draft lottery. Pitching standpoint, it didn't exactly fall exactly how we planned, but we ended up with the fifth pick. That's kind of, where the dice fell. Obviously flirting with the idea of getting rid of Jeremy Grant, possibly picking up another top 10 pick. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not. But, all in all, what do you think? How do you feel about, how the dice fell with the Magic getting number one pick?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of them things like, we talked about it and how I look at it. Obviously, kind of sucks we weren't able to get into that top three to have a chance at, one of the best players in the draft. But I do feel like this is a pretty deep draft overall as far as just where we even landed. I think it'd be one of them things where, we'll I already saw Weaver. He was like, we could pick five today. Like that's pretty much that's what he said yesterday. So that, kind of gives me the confidence that he has done his research and, has an idea who he's looking at and who might be that guy we go after. But yeah, I mean, I think that fifth pick, and we kind of talked about some of the scenarios who we could grab with that fifth pick. I mean, I'm looking at a mock draft right now. They have us grabbing Shadon Sharp. I'm not gonna say I'm against it. I just don't really know enough about him, and I'd probably rather have like a, Keegan Murray or a Jaden Ivey or like a Ben Matherin, somebody that seen play a little bit more and be pretty successful in the last year. But yeah, I mean, I think overall we're not obviously want to be top three. We're top five, still not a bad spot to be in, and we'll see what Weaver cooks up on draft night, and we kind of talked about too. Jeremy Grant might be somebody that we might be offloading to maybe find another pick in that top 10. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it obviously is a slight disappointment. We riding high off getting the first pick last year. You would have thought how bad we were this year, we would have ended up with another top pick. But I know, even though we didn't obviously end up with that many wins, we kind of went on a little bit of a run towards like the second half of the, post All-Star break. Once we got Bagley in there, once Cade really hit his stride. And so it was kind of really a different team. So I wondered if that team was out there the whole year. I'm not saying we're in the playoffs, but I'm saying maybe we're not.
Top 10, top 12. Like later in the draft.
Yeah, that's something we have to take in consideration as well, that we got a phenomenal young – Bagley, is 2 years out of the draft, maybe 3 tops. And he seemed to flourish in our system with Cade. We have going on. So that's something we also have to consider. But now, I think now we do work on the backcourt. That's what we kind of talked about, semi-debated last podcast. And I think that's kind of should be the focus now, maybe. I think hopefully somebody sneaks up we never heard of into the top 4 picks and messes that whole rhythm up for what people think is going to happen. Or I'm knocking hopefully if the Kings are the one that does something stupid and, maybe somebody falls to us. But I think I would need to do a little more research, but I agree. I would pick Ivy over Shaden Sharp, just the unknown factor.
Right.
We could be looking foolish in a year or two if he's the best player in the draft, but that's very hard to say based upon, just highlights from high school. So I would rather much go with a proven player. Ivy, 2-year starter in the Big Ten, 20 a game. Keegan Murray, I believe, is a freshman, putting up 20-something in the Big Ten. Iowa was a force this year. They were racking up points in bunches, and he got hot. He got hot a lot from time to time as well. So I did catch a decent amount. I watched more of his games than I did Ivy. And I will say he is good. So, I personally am going to try to dive into their tapes a lot over the next couple of weeks and just to do my own research on that. But I don't think I'd be upset with either one of them. And I really do think we're in a great spot with Jeremy Grant as well. I would love to get another top 10 pick. And that trade that you sent earlier with Eric Bledsoe and
Keon Johnson.
I just think that's something that's kind of a win-win for both teams, really. You got to get Dame happy. Jeremy Grant is a difference maker day one when he gets there. and
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so and I think that's more of probably a better role for him as a player.
Right.
So I think it's a win-win across the board. Eric Bledsoe, 1 year left on that deal. He'll be off the books, and then we can try to begin to shape the team even more. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, something along those lines. And yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see. Just a side note, I saw somebody say if the Magic draft Chet Holmgren, potentially they could have a starting lineup if everybody's 6'9" or taller.
Wow.
With Mo Bamba, Wagner, it would be Chet. I forgot who the other ones were, but everybody was 6'9" or taller. And
okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And somebody was making fun of that they would finish like 12th in the East, but I thought that was interesting.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
I think like, I mean, this kind of puts us in a little bit of a better spot just from like a team standpoint. Because I mean, if you really look at the roster right now, like we got Stewart, Bagley, Olynyk, Grant. I mean that the big it's pretty packed up there right now. You know what I'm saying? And not to say like obviously it would have been great if we would have been able to get Jabari or Paolo. Not saying I would. I'm like this is like a good problem to have or anything like that. But it's also like I just feel like personally like there's more of like a bigger need to put somebody beside Cade. Like we had Corey Joseph starting with him last year. You know what I'm saying? Like we could do better than that by him and for him. And I just think, a lot of people, they don't really like Ivy. I've been talking to people about him and, can't shoot. But for me, that doesn't really like scare me away because John Morant couldn't shoot. A lot of people like, Russ couldn't shoot. And a lot of people that kind of like, Derrick Rose, and some of them guys that kind of remind me of him a little bit. Like a lot of guys come in the league and can't shoot right away. I think that's something that you come in, you get in that, professional program. You can be shooting every day. You ain't got to worry about school no more. So that's going to come in time. And I just think, him or like him or even like Mathurin or like Murray, just kind of maybe like more like a wing or somebody you can kind of just switch with Sadiq or just, play beside like Cade and Sadiq. I think that's going to just make things a little easier for us. And then, yeah, I mean, even if, kind of decide how you want to kind of move forward with the starting lineup and everything, 'cause I just can't imagine, Bagley, I mean, I know he's come off the bench and he might be fine with it, maybe, but like, I can't imagine that'd be something that, he's a role he's trying to just kind of take on. And I would kind of really want to maybe move forward more with him than Jeremy Grant as well. So
the one thing I would have, and you might be able to answer this, is do you think Ivy needs the ball in his hands to be successful? Because I think Cade is going to have the ball in his hands probably, a la Luka, a la LaMelo Ball. Somebody along those line is how I imagine it. So
yeah, he does.
Not to say that if you put Luka and Ja on the same team, they would obviously find a way to make it work. But right. I'm saying, it just makes me wonder. I personally do think you do need a person that can shoot. But if you got just the next guy, anywhere near a John Morant type or something, I mean, obviously you can't pass on that. So
right, because I think, I mean, I remember like watching him play. I mean, he did kind of like play point guard or stuff. He kind of had to, they really just didn't have like they had a solid team, but I mean, he was really just like the guy. And I think how I kind of look at it, the dynamic I kind of look at it from standpoint I look at it from is like, you got Sadiq that can shoot pretty well, you know what I mean, and then like. I just think like Cade to where he can shoot decent, but he's going to be more like the point guard, more the facilitator. You got Ivy that's like slashing and, coming off picks and, attacking the rim, and then can kind of like, bring everybody in when he's attacking the rim. You kind of just got Sadiq just kind of hovering around. Like, I mean, when I say this, I'm not comparing them, but like how I look at almost like how Golden State plays. They all just kind of, in a sense, take turns with the ball, bringing the ball, like Poole will bring the ball up sometimes, or, he'll be kind of like playing off and Steph will have the ball. I mean, you'll see just like Clay just kind of running the baseline, coming off picks and everything, and Jordan Poole's kind of just, kind of like being like that, just like making sure if something does go down, they kind of pick it off to him and kind of let him do his thing through the offense. And that's just kind of like what I'd envision, like with them. Like, obviously, I'm with you. Like, you kind of want somebody that's more of a shore shooter, and I think that'd be kind of like Mathurin. kind of fit that build or mold a little bit more. But I just look at like, it wouldn't be like if they got Ivy, I'd be like they'd figure that out. I feel like they kind of be able to work.
No, yeah, I agree. I don't think it would be the worst thing. It's not like, I don't imagine like a big issues in the future, but just something. Right. I did look it up. Ivy shot 35% from three, and Keegan Murray shot 39. So a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
But obviously not like crazy, standout difference.
Yeah. And I think, and I mean, one of the things, try to kind of understand more of what Keegan Murray can do. If they got listed as a power forward, but can he play the three? And then maybe like, by Sadiq, Cade, Sadiq, Keegan, Bagley or Grant, and then Stewart. Like, I mean, that'd just be a big ass lineup. But, I guess I don't know enough about him to where like how he can handle the ball and, maybe bring the ball up every now and then. But yeah, overall, just kind of looking at this mock draft, there's a lot of star power, in my opinion.
And I guess, just to kind of connect, we ain't talked a lot about this, but the Shaedon Sharpe, I guess I know you're higher on him than I am as far as oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on Killian Hayes. But we already have a young teenage project point guard. I don't know if and I like I said, I could sound crazy if he comes out to be a superstar, but I don't know if that's really the best gamble at this point is to bring in another guy. Redact what we said last year. He's actually not from overseas, from Canada, but bringing another guy who hasn't, really had we're going on just potential here. Same Killian Hayes. We went on potential.
Yep.
And I don't know, he would be probably about the same age as when they got here. And so it just makes me wonder. We already have a guy that we're kind of on the fence about. And do you really want to bring in that as well? Or because I don't look at, I guess I view him in that light as Killian, but not, I feel like we know at least what Ivy would be. And that's going to be, he's going to be solid.
Yep.
Whether he eventually can shoot or not, we don't know, whatever, all that stuff, but we know he's going to be a solid player, regardless if he ever gets a jumper or not. So,
And I'll be honest, I'm reading through Sharpe, and they said 19 years old, explosive bounce, shot making, and mystery is becoming too enticing, like 6'6", too enticing for somebody to like not take him. In my opinion, that kind of sounds like somebody that Sacramento Kings would take a flyer on just because, like that just kind of sounds like something they would do. And I agree with that, guy being so young. I mean, I'm not, obviously you want to get guys, the thing is now the draft, a lot of one and dones, a lot of guys coming in 17, 18, 19. But I'm like, man, Ivy is a sophomore. Murray he's actually a sophomore. So I just think like, it don't hurt to throw, a little more established individual in that lineup.
Agreed. And 2 years in the Big Ten program at a very high level,
right?
Or 1 year riding Kentucky's bench,
right?
Yeah, really, you got to really, I don't know how much tape you can put out or what you can be doing in order to even get into that conversation. To be honest,
yeah. I just got one thing I want to just bounce off you before we start to just kind of shift topics here. Say that in the trade I sent you last night, Jeremy Grant for the 7th and like 2 players, Bledsoe and the other guy. Who would you kind of target, if we were to be picking 5th and 7th? I mean, would you, would it be like, they got right now they'd have, us taking maybe potentially Shaedon Sharpe, and then at 7 they got, they'd have the Trailblazers taking like AJ Griffin, a sophomore or a freshman from Duke, or a forward. Yeah. Is there anybody else that kind of like catches your eye in that like 7 to 10 range? That
if Mathurin is there,
yep,
that's probably the top guy on my list there. I think, let's just for just the sake of the argument, let's say Ivy does fall to us, and then you could turn around and get Mathurin. I think then you're looking at like Showtime Lakers. And then you're in the gun and you're looking good. You got some rolling then. So I think that's kind of what I would do. It's kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of, I know that Griffith, people are high on him just due to, like, I've heard people call him like one of the dark horses as well.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of was overshadowed by Banchero. Oh. Yeah. And he just kind of went under radar, but I mean, he did flash out at times when you watch those games as well. He definitely So I wouldn't be mad at that either. I'm to be perfectly honest, I'm blanking on who else would be around that conversation, but
Yes, they'd have. I mean, they got Johnny Davis coming off the board at 10 from Wisconsin. Jalen Duren from Memphis coming off the board at 9. They got Matherin going to 8th. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's just a mock draft, so I don't know how much of a reach it'd be for some of these people. But Jeremy Sohan, a freshman from Baylor, is like a big rangy power forward.
yeah,
Mark Williams, sophomore center from Duke. Got this shooter from Ohio State, Malachi Branham.
Yep.
So yeah, there's like I said, I mean I'm looking at like this top 15, and you start to even get like to 15, 16. I mean I'm still recognizing quite a few of these guys, and I'm not not to, like I say, I don't know what people are considering a reach or not a reach quite yet, but Ojai Abaji will still be on the board. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some people there that, be some solid options. And like you said, you made a good point the other day, just kind of saying how, you never really know when like them foreigners will start to kind of find their way into, the top 10, top 15.
Them agents hitting the phones right now. We're going to start seeing them sneak up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It should be interesting. Just a good time of year. It's still exciting time. As a Pistons fan, as an NBA fan, and with this going on in the back burner, and the playoffs is the front, and NBA is just continuing to grow in size. And I mean, it's been a phenomenal playoffs. And I mean, arguably the 3 biggest stars in the league are out already: LeBron, KD, and Giannis. I mean, it's kind of of the top 10, most of them are Kyrie, James Harden, Embiid.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and they're still putting out great basketball. It's still fun to watch. So that just shows how good the NBA really is. And hopefully we'll be not picking in this time and having be riding high on some type of playoff mini run.
At least to play in, at least like give us an extra game and just see what can happen. 10 seed, 9 seed, steal a spot from somebody. I think that'd be super dope next year. But and one thing you gotta look forward to is free agency. To see, the tough thing about like NBA, like NFL does free agency before the draft. Like NBA, they do it after the drafts. So it'd be, obviously it'd be a lot easier to kind of figure out who you want and stuff. Because I know I'm a big Jalen Brunson fan. And yeah, I mean, kind of depending on who they get, it's like who are we going to go after now in free agency too. But I know we're kind of about to shift gears here, but that was another thought that kind of came to my mind too. But yeah, no, like you said, playoffs. I mean, they've been in full force, in full swing. A lot of surprises.
Yep.
I think the biggest one for sure was just going to be, the Suns starting off 2-0. They were kind of talking a little cash, at the press conference about Luka and how they was hunting them. And, what Jordan said, he obviously took that personal and pretty much just went on this. They won like 4 out of the last 5 games of the series just to really kind of take it home. So, like, watching that game unfold on Sunday, I mean, what was, I know we chatted about it. What was kind of going through your mind? Like, what were you thinking when you saw that kind of unfolding like that?
I mean, honestly, it was one of the more like surreal basketball moments I've seen, where I just see like a complete meltdown. It was, it got out of hand so quickly. And I have never seen, we joked about this before, but I had never seen an NBA score even that low. And we joked that that's like a bad Big Ten halftime score, college basketball, so it's kind of, it really is just, it was, Luka came out with such like a fury and a fire and set the tone
like that.
Early. Yeah, set the tone so early, and they just seemed shook.
Yeah.
And then now when you look back, obviously, who's to say that these same videos wouldn't be used to show how excited they were for the game or whatever. But now all these videos of them dancing around before the game, that shit just look clownish now. You got wash off the floor. Now, obviously, if they come out and even sneak a win out by 1 point, them same videos are used to show how loose they are and, all this.
Right.
But it just, now on a retro, it just looks horrible. So, I wonder what they're going to do in general. Like, they don't sound like they want to give Aiden a max. And
he only played 17 points in that 17 minutes in that series, or that last game. That was kind of surprising too.
Yeah. So it's just kind of, I mean, just going to let him walk away. That seems kind of crazy to do. Chris Paul, I'm not sure how much longer he has on his contract, but he's also seen – he's slowed down a lot now. Obviously, that doesn't mean he can't come out and still have a good year, but he's obviously inching on down and aging on up. So it's kind of they're in an interesting spot, you know, to come off a championship run,
right?
Game, and then 63 wins this year, 64 wins, and at home already. You know, it really did, and to go home that embarrassing.
Yeah, and I think, and to me, man, I mean, obviously we kind of look at, and I feel like a lot of times Chris Paul's kind of been the scapegoat, you know, a lot of these conversations the last few days. I'm like, look at that Booker, like, you know, this is kind of like, call, you know, you want to talk about, you know, getting snubbed, being an MVP, not being an MVP candidate all year, and, you know, being like that next guy up. Like, I mean, I think he scored like 35 points in the last 2 games of that series, and really was like not being aggressive, you know, just kind of was like letting it happen, like letting whatever happened happen. And yeah, I mean, Charles Barkley kept saying it quite a bit, like, you know, Chris Paul is 37 years old. Like, you can't just be letting this guy throw the team on his shoulders every single night. Like if you don't play well, nobody does. It's like when people like Booker show up, Ayton, and we can, you know, talk about Miami and the Miami and Sixers series and a little bit about the Eastern Conference Finals after this. But like, even like with Ayton, man, like I feel like these new like centers, they kind of be like, you know, not really around the rim like that, you know, not really trying to rebound. I just think sometimes kind of that mentality, you know, there's a lot of times he got the ball in the post, wasn't trying to dunk it. He's trying to kind of like do a little jump hook, and like the Mavs' biggest player was like 6'9" or 6'10", 6'9", 6'8" guarding him. So it was just really kind of weird how that all unfolded, and we'll see what happens with Ayton, because I mean, he's definitely not getting that max deal at this point. There's no way to give it to him.
And I agree with you on that statement of Ayton, and obviously Embiid is a beast, but I'll put Embiid in there. They need to put on some 1990 Shaq highlights and drop that shoulder and bring the rim down. You know, man, I was really like it. Couldn't nobody stop Ayton if he wanted to do that 6 to 10 times a game, just turn around and damn near get an offensive foul and lower his shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, what do you there's not many people that can stop that. I just don't understand, like you said, they're trying to the lower degree. The lower, you know.
Like, I mean, he's to be 7'1", not getting me at least 8-9 rebounds, 20-25 a game.
10 boards. That's still
and I'm being generous with the, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's like, I mean, I'm looking at how he be playing sometimes. He's be
old school and not even big dudes. Big Glenn Davis averaged probably 10 boards at his peak. You know, and that mother was like 6'6".
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
it's a mentality thing.
Charles Barkley.
Oh yeah. 13, 14.
That was when everybody Charles Barkley would probably average 25 rebounds a game right now.
Yeah. Nobody wants to box out. Everybody wants to threes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's just kind of, I don't know. That team in general was kind of disappointing. You know, I think they went out. They should feel bad about how they went out. I feel like that was an embarrassing. And
absolutely,
Luka legend riding high. You know, we'll see what they can do against Golden State, a team that has obviously been here before, but Mavs don't seem scared. They don't seem like, you know, Luka seems like very poised. So that's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see that tonight as well.
Yeah, out in San Fran, have a couple beers before that. Brews, you know. I just want to ask you, because this is another question that's kind of going around before we start to, you know, kind of wrap things up here. Would you give Harden the max deal? I mean, are you?
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
That drop off, that has been insane.
Yeah. So I'm gonna mess the numbers up, but his last, I think he's gonna be 39 or 38. He'd be 38 in that last year of the contract, and he'll be making $60 million a year. That alone that just ain't worth it.
He's not even playing 60 games a season, so it's like that don't even. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, how old is LeBron right now?
37.
37. LeBron wouldn't even deserve to make $60 million this year. I mean, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a phenomenal amount of money that, like, I don't know who really is. Obviously, that's years in the future, but, like, I don't even know you got to be in your peak, like Giannis maybe or something. You know what I mean? Like, that could be asked. Like, I just don't. You can't be. that back into your
yeah. I agree, and then too, it's like I just started to kind of feel bad for Embiid because he's out there doing his thing. He just can't get that Bible sidekick to really just like get over that hump.
Yeah, and I mean, think about how the whole process thing, and I know that's kind of over to this point, but they got Embiid, then they got Ben Simmons. I'm probably going out of order, but Embiid, Ben Simmons. Then they blew it on Mikal Fultz. And then they let
He was in that draft.
Who?
Tatum was in that draft.
Bro, you throw Tatum on that team right now. they out the East.
Yeah.
Probably
would have won one by now.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I just don't know. I mean, they seem to can get it and then like they can get it and then fumble it inside the 5. It's just like they can almost, every time.
There's injuries too. Like Embiid, I mean, he obviously the hit to the face, that's like freakish. You can't really stop that.
Let Jimmy Buckets go.
Yeah.
I'm sure the timeline is foggy in my head now, but I mean, Tatum, Jimmy Buckets, Ben Simmons, Embiid. I mean, come on.
Nobody's beating that team. No. Yeah.
That's two defensive players phenomenal. Tatum can do whatever he needs in Embiid. I mean, that's kind of. I mean, that literally is that's probably a dynasty if they did it right.
3 all defense, 2 two-way players, and you'd have Tatum just getting busy. But yeah. And then just speaking of Butler and Tatum, we saw, Jimmy definitely imposed his will last night. How do you kind of see that Celtics series unfolding?
Series. I mean, I'm being honest. I got to give you your kudos. I just don't still to this moment, I don't really somehow trust the Heat, but I mean, like, they're good. Like, I'm just being honest.
Culture, man.
It's the coaching. It's Butler being that the engine. Just kind of and they're built very well. As far as
the Eastern Conference.
Nothing's bad.
Right.
Good center, good wing player, can play defense, got some shooters. So I coached well. So I just.
I mean, to me, like, they just kind of run their organization. They're like the Eastern Conference version of the Spurs. I mean, obviously,
Pat Riley still running the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, but you just look at you can look right now. It's like how many coaches have had. I mean, supposed to have been there since 2011 or 2008, 2009.
Yep.
How many coaches have I'd say like maybe Popovich, maybe a couple other ones, but just that alone. I mean, they got that foundation, and then everything below that just continues to just kind of stay in place. And you get players like Jimmy Butler. I mean, he fits that culture to a T. And they just got guys that work hard. I've just kind of seen players talk about the guys go there, lose weight, had the best season of their career, and all this type of stuff. And they just kind of do things the right way. So I just we'll see. I mean, last night I just think the Celtics kind of ran out of gas. I do feel like it'll be like a 6 to 7 game series, but Miami's looking really, really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we'll see how it plays out games tonight. And that's it for this podcast.
Real quick, Mavericks Warriors. What do you think? I think I'm going to say Mavs in 7.
Yep, Golden State in 6.
I'm going to say Mavs in 7 just because. Why not?
Hey, why not? We'll see. Luka Legend. Or Luka Liquor. We'll see.